100 yards is overrated. 4 touchdowns, not so much. We need a fantasy championship. We are here to help you. Lauren Shahadi, Dave Richard here, talking our fantasy huddle. And Dave, I want to talk to you about DeAngelo Williams. Not 100 yards, did get into the end zone 4 times. If you're John Fox, you're happy with that performance.
Well, obviously you're happy with that performance because now you've got a running game that you can really threaten opponents with the rest of the way. And DeAngelo Williams, not just 4 touchdowns, 4 one-yard touchdowns, Lauren. To me, this is a sign that DeAngelo Williams has arrived in the NFL, and that's kind of crazy to imagine because he's just coming off a streak of 4 straight 100-yard games. But Jonathan Stewart didn't play much. He had some cramping in his legs, happened on his long run against the Packers. DeAngelo Williams had to take over, saw all those carries, and now they know that he can do it. I think the Panthers are going to really lean on DeAngelo Williams to be that #1 running back for them. They don't need to really split much more between Stewart. Stewart's a little banged up with the heel injury. I think DeAngelo Williams is not only the main man for the Panthers in their running game and in their offense, but also a #1 running back for fantasy owners the rest of the way.
Get him in your lineup, no doubt about it. Also, Michael Turner, obviously you had him in your lineup, and hopefully you had him in your lineup last week. More modest numbers this week. My question to you is this.
Yeah.
Did San Diego get rid of the wrong running back?
No, I don't think they did
Okay.
as of now, and I think when the time came to make the decision, they didn't get rid of him. But when you compare Michael Turner and what he's done this year to what LaDainian Tomlinson's done this year, it's easy to look back and say, oh, yeah, sure, San Diego should have traded away LaDainian Tomlinson, the face of their franchise, and kept Michael Turner. And maybe that was something that A.J. Smith considered. He's the general manager of the Chargers. But obviously and ultimately, they let Michael Turner go. And now Turner, clearly, again, a #1 fantasy running back. Matchups don't matter to him anymore. If you've got him on your team, you're starting him. He's a #1 fantasy running back. And now the interesting thing is that both these guys, Turner and Williams, they're both going to be contenders to be first-round picks in draft next year. I think Turner's a lock to be a first-round pick. I think Williams, people are going to be skeptical on because he's going to be sharing the ball with Jonathan Stewart in 2009, but not much more in 2008.
Dave, let's continue the LT talk. He was the #1 fantasy draft pick in most of the leagues. Not so heading into 2009, though.
Yeah, I don't even know if I can look at him and say that I want to draft this guy to be on my fantasy team in any round. He just doesn't look the same. And I think it's starting to catch up with him. You know, he topped 2,500 carries this year. He's in his 8th full season in the National Football League. These are the red flags that I look at when I judge how a running back's going to do. I don't look at his age. LaDainian Tomlinson will be 30 next year. Maybe that's what you want to look at. It's another red flag. But the bottom line here is that he is slowing down. He hasn't been playing with a stud fullback either. That's an impact that might mean something for his short-term game and why he hasn't been doing so well. You've got to hope that he turns it around in Week 14, though. We're talking a short week. He's playing against Oakland at home. He has always tortured the Raiders, ran for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns against them earlier this year. So he should be able to get it done against the Raiders. If he doesn't get it done against the Raiders, then all bets are off on LT for the rest of the way.
Good news for LT owners, though, in Week 14. The situation in Cleveland gets weirder. Derek Anderson going out with that injury. The Browns fell to Indy. Indy had a defensive battle. They really got it done because Peyton Manning wasn't getting it done under center. But when you look at the Browns compared to Peyton Manning, they do well against the Manning brothers.
Yeah, because remember, Cleveland's the only team that stopped the Giants earlier this season. And now you look at how Eli and Peyton have done against Cleveland Browns. I can't explain this because I think the Browns' defense is terrible. You look at what they did, they were awful. And the Cleveland Browns, if they could play against the Manning quarterback each week, I guess they'd be doing a lot better than 4-8, which is where they're at now. And listen, this was a team in the Browns that I thought would be one of the best teams in the AFC. I went out on a limb. I thought that they would be a Super Bowl team, and they've just been snake bit all year by either close games or bad quarterbacking or what have you. And really, the franchise is in turmoil right now. I think they're way worse than they were 2 years ago before their big breakout year last year.
Okay, Matt Cassel did not have a great game yesterday, coming off 2 400-yard performances, but going up against that Steelers defense, they torched him.
Yeah, and this is something that I didn't think would happen. He had a good first half, and he kept the Patriots in the first half of the game. And in the second half, he just fell to bits because the Steelers came after him. They built a big lead, and Cassel had 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. It all came in the second half. Cassel unraveled. That kind of rhymes a little bit. And now fantasy owners are worried about Matt Cassel as a fantasy option for the rest of the way. I say he's a platoonable quarterback, but he's got nice matchups going, including next week at Seattle. He's got Oakland after that. Then he's got Arizona at home. With that schedule over the last 3 weeks, I think Cassel's got some good games left in him. should be able to get a couple of 200-yard games, maybe a couple of 2-touchdown games. That's if Randy Moss can hang on to the ball, by the way. He dropped sure touchdown late in the first half, and it's also assuming that Wes Welker gets healthy. He got hit in the head during the game on a cheap shot, and we got to hope and see that he comes back because he's a big part of Cassel doing well.
Absolutely. You guys need a fantasy championship? The place to turn to is Fantasy Football Today. Every Sunday, live, 11 o'clock Eastern, Jason Horowitz. Good luck tonight. See you later.